friends, this is Andy Davidson, and I am the creator of the Morning Time Plans for Cycle 3. I've had such encouraging feedback. Thank you all for those of you who purchased it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go to quiettimesforkids.com in the store and you can read a description. Basically, they're morning time plans that line up with Cycle 3 for classical conversations. Well, I have been thinking about you all and answering lots of questions online, and I wanted to make a short video for you to encourage you, for those of you that are considering doing a morning time along with your homeschool year. And in my experience, there are two things I want to warn you, and I would say these are two really big hindrances to a successful morning time with your children. These two things are your child training, and number two, your self-training. So I want to go through and just share a few minutes about that, because if you don't consider these two obstacles, you may be setting yourself up for failure. I know we can get so excited when we all plan and buy our books and print out our beautiful morning time plans and laminate pages, but when the rubber meets the road, really the planning is the easy part. You know, the books themselves, they don't talk back. They don't disobey you. They just line up when you want them to line up. And so working with human beings, now that's a little harder. And so I've had a few people ask me, you know, morning time sounds like such a wonderful idea. However, what do you do when all of your kids start disobeying? What do you do when there's a temper tantrum in the middle of morning time? What do you do with a rowdy 10-year-old boy who doesn't want to do what you're doing? And so I want to give you a few tips to help with that. You know, my biggest suggestion is before you begin morning time, I really encourage you maybe a week or 2 weeks before the school year starts for you to start some child training with your kids. I've always done this a few weeks in, especially if you have toddlers, if you have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4-year-olds that you're hoping will stay still during morning time. I encourage you to start some blanket training or some couch training or some, you know, floor training where you slowly work up in increments, maybe 5 minutes a morning. And this is during a time that you don't have anything else to do, so you have the freedom to step in and redirect or give discipline if needed, and slowly build that up. Don't expect the first time your 3-year-old sits still to be an hour of peaceful morning time. It's not going to happen. But it's a life skill for you to teach them and train them to get to the point where they can do this. On my website, under free printables, there's a lot of resources on early child training. I have a 4-step training process, as well as some child training goals worksheets that I would encourage you to check out. If this is an area that you anticipate being a problem, then it would be wise for you to spend a little time investing in it, talking with your husband, maybe even refreshing yourself on a really good book. One I recommend is Raising Godly Tomatoes, which you can buy on Amazon. That was really influential for me in those early morning or early training years. So something to consider. Child training is a vital part of morning time if you want to have a peaceful time with your kids. Another thing in my morning time basket is also a rod. And so there are times that I have to give discipline to my kids. I usually try to train before I discipline, and that will make sense to you if you look at the 4-step training process. But there are times that morning time needs to stop and discipline needs to happen, that you can bring it back to a peaceful place for everybody. The second hindrance, I said, to morning time is often self-training, because if you're anything like me, I enjoy making all of my grandiose homeschool plans a little bit more than I enjoy the discipline of actually following through with them. And so that's something that we as homeschooling parents need to admit, that as we're training the affections and the habits of our kids, the truth is our habits and our affections need to be retrained as well. And so I want to make a few recommendations. First of all, Charlotte Mason has a lot to say on habit training, and she, in her book, she'll find that there are 3 habits that she strongly recommends you establish before the age of 6. These habits are the habit of obedience, the habit of self-discipline, and the habit of attentiveness. And if you've had any children under 6 that you've tried to educate, you know that all 3 of those things are a challenge. And so developing that habit of obedience, of self-discipline, and of attentiveness in our children is necessary. But the truth is, maybe we as parents don't have those habits established in our own life. And right now, I want to recommend a book. It's by James K.A. Smith, and it's called You Are What You Love, The Spiritual Power of Habit. And Mama, if you know that habit training in your life is lacking, maybe that's reflected in your kids and their lack of discipline as well. And so I would encourage you to check out this book, or just there is a lot of resources online of habit training for the homeschool mom. I would encourage you to look into that yourself, because the morning time basket and the morning time plans don't run themselves. There's something that takes a lot of discipline and a lot of commitment to stick with, but that you can see a tremendous blessing that comes out of them. But it might mean that you set out to train your own habits and your own affections this year as you are training your kids. Unfortunately, as moms, we can't afford to get our act together before we expect obedience from our kids. It kind of has to be a both and so I just wanted to leave you with some of those things to encourage you that your child training and your self-training may be two of the biggest obstacles to your peaceful morning times with your family, but they're not something you can't overcome. So if you have questions about this, please feel free to leave it in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer and to encourage. Again, please check out the morning time plans for Cycle 3, and I pray God's richest blessing on your school year with your children. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.